You're good.
Well, so now I want to talk about some more details, and then the actual about conferences, and then some how the class is going to be run. So normally, the way you're going to communicate with delegates at in your committee meetings is you're going to be giving speeches during something called unmoderated caucuses. We'll talk about later on. You'll be getting up, you'll be walking around and talking to them. Quite frankly, during lunch, you might be talking to them. Before the conference starts, you may be talking to them. But one of the ways that you can communicate with them while you're in formal debate, while people are giving speeches, is through something called diplomatic notes, right? That's one way to communicate with them. And so what diplomatic notes are is you basically write messages to people, other delegates, on small pieces of paper. Now, it can be, depending on what the message is, it can be a small piece of paper because you don't need a big one. Depending on the size of the message and what you want to write, it can be bigger. But you usually don't want to be handing around like a piece of notebook paper folded in half. But there's a way to send around diplomatic notes and a way to address them that you have to be able to follow. So, for example, if I want to, suppose you're a delegate and you came late to a conference. Don't ever come late to a conference. But suppose that happened, there was nothing you could do to control it. On the outside, what you would do is you would write to the chair from the name of your country. So in this case, you're Cameroon. Okay? Make it clear. You want to make it clear who it's going to and who it's coming from. And then on the inside, you want to write whatever message you're sending to the chair. Like I say, in an example where you've come late to the conference, on the inside you would just write something like, "Dear Chair, Cameroon is present." And that's all, right? You don't have to write, "Hey, I'm really sorry, but I got a flat tire, couldn't get here on time," anything like that. Short and sweet. Let them know what they need to know. Cameroon is present, right? And that would be like if you missed roll call. You get there, they've already done roll call, and now you're coming there. You just walk up and very carefully, without interrupting anything, hand a note, set a note down on the table where the dais is sitting, and go and find a seat. Now, sometimes what you're going to want to do is you're going to communicate with other delegates. Right? And when you communicate, sometimes when people are giving speeches, so let's suppose France, the delegate representing France, just got up and gave a great speech, right? Or something that your country really agrees with, and you think it'd be really good for you guys to work together. What you can do is you can write a note, and again, it would be the same format. To France, from Cameroon in this case. And then on the inside of the message, you would compliment them on their last speech, or maybe ask them to clarify something that they said in the last speech, or talk about or strategize with them, or say that you'd like to discuss their idea on education at the next unmoderated caucus. Whatever your message is, just put it in there. Now, one of the things you need to worry about is that, unfortunately, sometimes people don't do a good job of handing around notes. So sometimes you got to kind of watch your note go around to make sure that it gets to where it's supposed to go. So that's something to keep in mind. At a lot of conferences, they have what are called pages, right? And all the pages do is they get up and they walk around, and their sole job is to bring notes around. So if you write a note, if I'm writing a note to France, I'm Cameroon, after I'm done writing it, I'll just sit like this. I'm in my chair. Then a page will eventually walk by and take the note along with other notes, and they'll distribute them. Now, just so you know, the chairs will sometimes ask delegates if they'll volunteer to be pages. Don't volunteer, ever, ever. You studied really hard. You've prepared yourself to negotiate. I don't want you walking around being a page. If other people want to do that, that's fine. If they think that's fun, whatever. You don't do it, right? You don't do it. Usually the way that you would hand a note around is if you're, depending on the seating arrangement, if there's a square setup or a circular setup, or if there's like a classroom setup and France is sitting over there, you just gently tap the next delegate to you in the direction of France and you hand it to them. They'll usually look at it, see, oh, this is to go to France. You might want to point over to where France is. What you don't want to do is you don't want to get up walking around handing out notes. That's not appropriate. They don't want delegates up walking around handing notes, and especially when somebody else is speaking. If there's another delegate speaking, you don't want to get up in the middle of their speech and walk around handing notes. Now we'll talk about all this stuff more during our simulation.